Hey, I'm Nicole. So hopefully this thing decides to work decently well. I'm just here with Prezi. I want to show kind of how to do how do I say, like a poem close reading mind map. And what that is kind of is a lot of the time I find that students, even my friends, have a hard time kind of unlocking the meaning of poetry when they first look at it, and that's understandable because poetry can be kind of tricky. But one thing that's really helped me is I had a teacher that showed me how to kind of go line by line in a poem and pick out words that I thought were important and like connect them to things in my own life or like connotations, definitions that they may have had for me. And usually, if I'm stuck on a poem, if I can go through and do that, then I can find some common themes. And that can usually help lead me to a thesis statement. So, what I kind of wanted to do here was uh, create a mind map to kind of show you how that works. And with this whole mind map thing, it can be kind of a fun project, especially if you're like an audio visual person and you just learn better that way. Like maybe you're not so good with words, but you're much better with pictures or videos or audio, then this technology can really open doors for you. Also, for me, I think it's a great tool to teach close reading skills and teach connotation and connection skills when you're just first learning those kinds of things. So I just kind of created a sample one here for you, and let's go into it. So as you can see, I've got my main topic, which will be the poem, which you'll see in a minute, and then I have, for me, it was 5 little topic boxes around it, just to kind of break up my observations and my connections into just kind of like little mini chapters so you can understand more where they're going. All right. So I'm doing Keats's Bright Star, which is why I have the star background. I think it's fun to do a background that kind of mirrors what you're talking about. Okay. So to my first topic, I just have the kind of the first couple stanzas of the poem all listed out here because they have kind of similar patterns of words that I make connections with, and so I wanted to pull those out in my next slides. So the words that stood out to me were like eremite, which is a religious hermit. I didn't know that word before I first started studying this poem, so it's one that I had to look up. And I thought it was interesting because to me it connected to priest-like and ablution, which is kind of a religious cleansing or washing for purification. So I thought that was really interesting. And laugh at me, but I have kind of this like weird card on here, but it shows that it's like, you know, a religious thing, not just hermit. Like it has both the connotations to me of being alone and then also the religious connotation. And so then I found this cool article that was kind of like on loneliness and what isolation does to a person. And so I thought that was really neat. I linked it right there. And then, of course, I have the priest. And then I have kind of these like, when I thought of like all these religious type of words, it made me think of all these scriptures that are like, guard yourself against passion, you know, you have to remain like, you know, I do think of like the religious aloof hermit who never engages with that kind of thing. So I have like these random scriptures here. Then the ablution. Next topic. I've got like the next stanza of the poem, which is or gazing on the new soft fallen mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. And what this made me think of is how just kind of like the seasons change and the star is okay with being left behind. And so I won't show the whole thing, but I've got kind of a time-lapse video here of how quick the seasons change. Let's see if YouTube lets me play it. I'll just let it go through for a minute. And then winter, of course, which as a as a scholar of poetry, as a scholar of literature, I know that it usually is the season of death. And so I have two poems that I'm familiar with: A Certain Slant of Light by Emily Dickinson and Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost, that kind of connote the whole death thing with the winter aspect of it. And then snow, of course, which made me think when I was in Rome, Italy, I visited the Spanish Steps, the Keats Shelley house where Keats died, and it reminded me of the white of his death mask. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay. And then you can see I've got the next two stanzas here. And, they're very different from the first half of the poem. They made me think of love and companionship, and of course, I'm a chick flick watcher, so I've got a picture from the movie Bright Star here, because I'm a nerd. But the line that really stood out to me was, "No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable." That's the quality he really wants to take from the star. So that made me think of a sculpture I saw when I was in Rome, which is Bernini's Daphne and Apollo, and how it was just so detailed, like the stop of time, and how when he's talking about the star, that's more, what he's envisioning. He doesn't want to be alone, he just wants to stop time with her. And then I have this really sad, really cute clip from Princess and the Frog. Spoiler alert, if you've never seen Princess and the Frog, stop now. I'm warning you. Just skip like 10 seconds ahead, skip this whole video, or it will ruin the movie for you. Warning. Okay. I tried to get it to start at a certain point, but it's not doing that. Of course. I'm gonna see if I can fast forward a little bit. So what we have kind of happening here is the beloved Ray the Firefly does die at the end of Princess and the Frog, because he's trying to save Tiana and Naveen. And he's in love with this star in the sky that he calls Evangeline. And this is what happens at his funeral. If I can just skip ahead to it. There we go. So touching, I know. Second star appears in the sky, so cute. Okay. Anyway, I'm sure you can see where I was going with that, or at least where I was trying to go with that. And this all kind of led me to my thesis statement, which is in juxtaposing kind of the grand but very like objective religious view of nature that he has with like the intimate description of love in the second half of his poem. Keats illustrates how in Bright Star, how the importance that we as humans place on things is largely relative to their individual connection to us on a personal level. So that's how I got my thesis statement. Once again, I think this is just a great tool for teaching close reading when you're first starting out. Obviously, you can't make something like this every time you look at a poem. I mean, you can. I just feel like it'll take a long time. But once you get students used to kind of this idea, and this will be a really fun project for them, it was for me, then they're going to understand, they're going to look at a poem and realize, hey, I can do this. Like, I can unlock the meaning of this. It's going to take me a minute, but I totally have the skills and the tools to do this. So, I guess I'll sign off here.